It is Monday. RawMikeRichards.com, broadcasting live from the DKI studios in downtown Toronto, 234 King Street East, out of the Pacific Junction Hotel. Coming up today, the much anticipated telling of the truth. What we went through at TSN 1050 has never been really spoken out beforehand, and I know that many of you who have followed Dave and myself for years don't know the truth. You'll find out in about 60 seconds. Also, the John Tavares sweepstakes, Dave, I guess they're still up in the air, and someone in New York has made a big play, and it's not Lou Lamoriello.
No, it's a massive play. We'll talk to Donald Rosser in about 15 minutes' time, who's promised John Tavares and family personally delivered bagels for life as an option of, if you come back to Long Island. There's a lot of people talking about this. It's trending across North America right now. We'll talk to one of the owners of Bagel Boss. And a little bit later on the show, Tyler Cameron joins us with a brand new book. Something anybody that's about to get married or has been married will have a little bit of a chuckle at.
Yeah. Then we'll have the book of when the marriage doesn't work. No, I'm sure it'll be fine. Everyone falls in love. Everyone loves it. I'll also take a look at what happened on the weekend. As you know, the World Cup. Try gambling on that, Dave.
Yeah,
I've been taking a beating on that.
I've quit.
Yeah, so did Poland.
No kidding, eh? Thanks for showing up.
That was
what
brutal.
a joke. The only team that's fully eliminated from play. Well, there's going to be two in about an hour from now, but still.
That was such a no-show,
They were supposed to be a lot better than that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Okay, as many of you know and have followed Dave and myself from the TSN 1050 days, it came to a strange end. And, of course, what exists now on that dial location is nothing short of a ghost town. It is probably the most embarrassing, if you want to call it a radio station, it's hard to put it in those kinds of terms, simply because it was a great idea started by TSN itself, and then when others came into the picture, they completely took a knee, they turtled, they rolled over, they tanked, and they did it on purpose, and we will show you the reasons why. And of course, the bottom line is money. It had nothing to do with any integrity for those who worked there. It had nothing to do with, some sort of professional dignity that allowed us to do what they did when they took us from other parts of the country. And so, therefore, I will show you an enormous tape that I've had for quite some time that was sent to me by someone from the company that will show you exactly how we were lied to. And again, understanding what performance is, if you don't have certain numbers in this business, we understand it would be a fail, and the company fully in their own rights to say we have to go a different way. I understand that. I've always understood that. I've been in this business for 30 years. I get what performance is and lack of performance, which can cost you your job. So I think what we need to do, just so you understand what we were up against and where we went, is to see what the numbers were at the very beginning when we take over in 2011. In 2011. So let's go to those numbers. And, of course, the number we're looking at is males 25-54. And so we start... and this is the numbers at the end of February the 27th, so we're not on the air till like April 11th. So what existed in Toronto at this time? The Fan had a 6.9, so a 7 share, and 1050 Chum, as it was known, had a 0.1, as the only thing that was coming across the dial at that location was CP24. That's all it was. So we had to come in a month into that ratings period, which is how that works. And so these are the numbers after the first 2 months that Dave and I were on board as the morning show. So males 25-54, the Fan ends up at a 6.8. And after almost 60 days, a little short of 60 days, Dave and I had a 1.6. Here's the comparison between when I started and then when my contract, the first contract, was up after the third year, because that is important to remember. Go ahead 3 years. At the end of that spring book, so May 24th, so the first week of June, because it's always, and you'll have to keep this in mind as I go through this, we don't really get the numbers from that period, whether it's the fall, the spring, or the winter book. We don't get it. Generally, it's the Thursday after the first of the next month. So it ends May 24th. So males 25-54 at that point. The fan was a 7.9. So this is the Blue Jays have been on now for about a couple of months, and the fan is almost an 8. Their default number, as you'll understand because they've been here for over 20 years, is about a 6. So that's pretty good. And that is, at this point, it is now moved to Brady and Walker. Dave and myself, we get up to a 5.8. So we're almost a 6 share at this point. So we're pretty thrilled because we're getting a 6 share out of a stone. We're getting blood from a stone at this point. We didn't exist beforehand, and as you know, the station never really talked about us, so this was pretty good. We were very happy with this number. Moving to males 1849, when we first started, the fan had a 7.6. We had a 1.2. Move it ahead, the fan goes to a 7.4. We go up to a 6.3. So after 3 years, we've almost caught them 18-49 because, quite honestly, the lower part of the demo, right? So we're 25-54. The lower part of that demo, Dave and I have always done well at, and this show continues to do well at. So here's the number that will probably shock some people. As we go to males, 25-34, so the bottom part of the demo. When we first start, after our first book, the fan had a 9.8. So that was Brady and Lang at that point. They were a 9.8. Dave and I get a 1.6. At the end of that 3-year period, they are a 5.4, as you can see, and Dave and I go to a 20.2. A 20.2. This is after 3 years. So at this point, we're very thrilled with those numbers, as we should be after 3 years, because they're the biggest on the station. But where we were very competitive, it wasn't so much about what you do within. It's what you're doing against. And so as we saw this, we realized if we stay the course, because I still think it takes the better part of probably 10 years to do what you have to do. 10 years is what it takes. When another radio station has a 20-year head start on you and you're the second sports radio station, you better be prepared that it is a marathon, which they always told us. And then you'll see where the lies come in. Just after this book, TSN loses hockey for 12 years. They lose for 12 years. I did not really think at the time that it was going to affect us necessarily, and boy, was I wrong. At that same period of time, you really see Bell starting to come in to interaction with what we do for a living. Remember, when I first signed, when I left the fan, 960 in Calgary, I was dealing with the TSN guys, CTV guys, and Chum, where I started in radio. All three that I was very comfortable with and were the best 3 in the country, bar none. Now there's this weirdness of Bell coming in. Ken Volden comes into our program director's office. There's Dave, myself, I think it was Ank, and Scrizzy. And Ken Volden says, we're going to blow up radio on TV. So what do you mean? Now, not that I'm worried about necessarily what their numbers are on television. I realize they're probably not great. But what it does for the product is kind of plain to see. So they tell us television will now be taken away from us and we'll be without TV. Here's the thing. They come back, put Leafs Lunch on television, and Dave Naylor stays on TV. One by one, they start taking things away from us, and within a year, I get diagnosed with rectal cancer. So I'm away for that summer period. When I leave 3 years ago, Dave and I, our number had gone down to a 2.2. Now, keep in mind, also at that time, I'm taking chemo and radiation every day. I never missed a shift. That's why no one knew, because I was just not going to do that to Dave. I wasn't going to do it to the listeners. I wasn't going to do it for the integrity of what I think is being a professional. And while I was able to do it, then that's what I was doing. So it was a tough period of time. When I come back, we come back to rubble. Dave had to work with, I don't know how many people in that period of time. They put in whatever fill-ins. I know Matthew Cos was on there. They put in a bunch of guys. The number eventually goes to literally 0. And that's when I come back. And this is what I inherit. Because at the same time, the Blue Jays go like this. And as I told our company, if we don't have a plan against the Blue Jays, who at some point could be good, you can't think that they're going to be terrible forever. You got to have a plan. Here's what their plan was. Before I get back, our producer, who, by the way, got us every guest that Dave and I pretty much have ever had, including the Prime Minister of Canada, Stephen Harper, he got a face-to-face to. He's fired. Our new program director, Jeff McDonald, says that he's just not doing a good job. He can't figure out what Ank does. Therefore, he's gone. Bring in back Sean Levine. As we go on for the first 3 months, at the end of November, because Doug Gilmour was on with us at that time, Dave gets hauled out, and Dave is fired. He's let go. Now I'm by myself with rubble, and now no one to work with. So it was a very difficult time because, remember, in the fall, I'm still taking chemotherapy. I'm still taking chemo. On the other side, we get into January, and I don't know what to expect because I have no co-host. I have a producer who, pretty obvious, is not going to get a whole bunch of guests. Jeff McDonald, the program director, brings me in January and says, geez, we've been, really struggling over this, what to do at the radio station. The numbers aren't where they should be. And I go, yeah, I get that. You've got to give me at least, a couple to get everything back. Yeah, well, we're going to make a switch in the mornings. Number one, I'm pretty sure contractually able to do that because I just don't know. That's not my area. So they say that it's going to be Landsberg and Naylor in the mornings, and I'm going to be moved to 1 to 4. And I said to them, this is a disaster. This isn't right. This isn't right. And they said, well, here we are in January. We've talked about it. We needed to make a change, and no one should lose their jobs. And then Jeff McDonald said, so we're doing this as a sort of a distraction. Don't deny you said it, because that's how you said it, that this would be a distraction to others up above who are putting the pressure on the radio station at this point. So February 11th, a new morning show comes on. And it's Michael Landsberg and Dave Naylor. I've known both of them for years. They're not morning people. They're not morning guys. Dave Naylor is one of the best football guys I've ever met. One of my favorite guests when I was on in Calgary, and still one of my favorite guys now. But if you're telling me that that's a morning show, I know something's really wrong. But here's where the truth is going to hurt. I was sent this tape, their first show, like February the 11th. The first day of Naylor and Landsberg in the morning, they're on the air. And for whatever reason, Michael Landsberg brings up this story. Remember, it was January when they fought, just struggled so hard with this idea. I'm sent this tape from day number 1 of Naylor and Landsberg.
What are you doing today? What am I doing today? I'm going to Sick Kids Hospital. My son, who is 16, and he has autism, so he goes to the dentistry clinic at Sick Kids Hospital. He has oral surgery today. They're going to pop out his wisdom teeth and do some other dental work on him. And, of course, when they scheduled this like 3 months ago, they said, well, the date we have open is February the 22nd.
Which sounded fine.
Which I knew what was on my sched for February the 22nd. So I thought, that's going to be a long day. Getting up at 3:15, doing a radio show, spending the day at Sick Kids. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, Sick Kids is a tough place to walk into. We'll get into it for me another time. But
So, January was it? And then the guys who knew they were doing that morning show, that was 3 months ago. That's the end of November. At the end of November, the only numbers that would be available to any radio station in this country were the ones that came from the summer, which clearly I did not work. So if they made that decision back then, and those two guys found out they were doing mornings at the end of November, guess when they made that decision? When I was on the operating table, having my tumor removed from my rectum. At that point, Dave and I still had, of that end of May, we were the number 1 show on the station. That's the truth of the matter. I can't tell you how angry and the anger that I've had to carry, knowing that we worked our balls off to make sure that we made that station something, and bit by bit they took it a piece, not for ratings, not to make the station better, but so George Cope can continue with his $27 million a year salary. $27 million while the rest of us get gutted like pigs. Here's the other thing that's really so upsetting, and people in the industry know exactly what I'm talking about. The Bell Let's Talk is the perfect beard, the perfect disguise for a company that's not that above board when it comes to human resources. They pick something that how can you deny the great work that it does for people who actually suffer from bipolar, all those that suffer from depression, the mental illnesses that we know about, because it's truly sick, not weak. That part we all get. But the day after they raise that money, the day after, internally emails come out and they show the profits made by the company and those that get fired the next day. So if you're following me, Bell Let's Talk, followed by massive firings by Bell, and then they show the shareholders how much more money they've made. This is who we worked for. Here's the thing that I'll never forget. So as we're going through this, and I'm doing 1 to 4, they decide that they're going to give me a remote, which is a miracle. I'm going to do the Toronto Argonaut game at BMO Field. The Ticats coming. This is unbelievable. Because what you have to understand, at this time, my name is never mentioned on the radio station, ever. They'll talk about Naylor and Landsberg and Overdrive, Leafs lunch sometimes, but I'm a forgotten man. They never say my name. So Jeff McDonald comes to me and said, "Well, this is a big thing. You know, the station's really relying on you. The Argos is a big event. You know, we're really putting a lot of weight on your shoulders on this radio station." And you know, I said, "Okay, fine." The next day, keep in mind, the next day is the entry draft in Buffalo, where Toronto is going to announce that Austin Matthews is their number 1 pick. Being someone in the Leaf generation of no wins and my uncle being the trainer, I didn't think I'd ever get a chance to see this. So what I decided to do, because I live in Curtis, which is kind of far away, I decide to, on my own dime, get a hotel room. So I'm gonna stay overnight. So when I go to Buffalo the next day, when I get up from the football game, I'll go straight to Buffalo. I'll be there hours early. We're all good. Show the picture. So my 80-something-year-old father, the coach to many and one of the most decorated men I've ever known, joins me on the broadcast. It was one of the greatest moments of my life. Most guys, when they, in my business, say, "You got a chance to talk to your dad on the air," that's something most of us never get a chance to do. Most of our dads have passed. My dad is on. So as we're doing the show, Jim Barker comes on. The ownership comes on. The players come on. It was a great day. Leading up to it, as I told you, I got the hotel. Well, at that time down on Queens Quay, it was a mess. As you know, they changed the streetcar system, and so there are a lot of closed roads. The cab driver that I took that day trying to get into it had a real tough time getting actually to the parking lot of where BMO Field is. So as the show starts, my guy is pulling up into the parking lot. I make a bit out of it, which I always do. It's kind of what I'm known for. I'm still doing a show. Scott MacArthur's there. And as I get up there, we're going back and forth. We're having a laugh with the cab driver because he did a great job actually getting me there. When this shift was over, Jeff McDonald comes up with his sunglasses on. My dad's there, my brother with his wife, and his 2 kids, my niece and nephew. They're like 11. He said, "I'm so disgusted with you." Pardon? "Yeah, you're so unprofessional." "Why am I unprofessional?" "Well, showing up late to an event." "Yeah, I think you realize what the struggle was and why I was late. This is not something that is a trait of mine." So, well, we've all been talking and the administration's talking on whether we're going to let you go to Buffalo or not. I said, "What?" "Yeah, we have to talk about this." Phones me later on as I'm talking literally in the warm-up area. He says, "By the way, we've decided you're not going to Buffalo." So for the first time in 30 years, I'm being reprimanded, and the reprimand is not going to Buffalo. Here's what you need to know. He sent me an email 2 weeks earlier saying, "Don't bother going." Bruce Dobigan's son was getting married that day, that weekend. He said, "Just go to the wedding. Don't worry about coming to Buffalo." And see, that's the whole thing. He said, not being professional. Well, I thought probably when I had chemo and radiation coming in every day and never missing a shift, that probably is professional. So why did they do all of this? What is the end result? Well, the last winter ratings that I'm going to show you, the last winter book, tells you that it probably has nothing to do with actual numbers because they look like this. This is the reward for being who they are. The morning show, which now is not Dave Naylor, he left, but he got his job still. He went back to the CFL. They have a 1 share. A 1 share, 25.54. The Fan has a 5. Under the age of 35, so the 34-year-old number, is a 0.1. They're less than a share point in the mid-mornings. Leafs lunch is a 2. Under the age of 35, they're a 0.1. And their overdrive show is a 1.3, males 25.54. And under the age of 35, it is a 0.2. none of this was done for ratings. None of this was done for you. None of it was done for the listening or viewing public. They don't give a shit about you. They pretty much feel they can put anything on the air and you're going to continue to listen. This is how they feel. There's less and less people that work in radio. There's less and less people that work in the broadcast side. There are almost no local sports coast to coast because they really don't want to pay us, and they certainly aren't going to pay for quality. So we thank you for the numbers that have shown up, even though we're very, very small. We hit our biggest number yet. We are thrilled that we have done this. People ask me, why didn't you sue them? Why didn't you lawyer up? Because I just think it really wasn't my style. And I thought Dave and I could probably work our way out of this, and it's the more admirable way, and it's the way that we're more comfortable with it. So that's why we went to a very small place. God bless those guys at Eggplant for allowing us to do this. Dan Wong, Paul Moyer, they've all allowed us to land on our feet and try to do something different, because that's who Dave and I are. We believe that's integrity, something that Bell and TSN have absolutely none of. And now you know the rest of the story. I'm Paul Harvey. Dave, I love you. Always have.
Thanks, Mike.
Once again, Dave, I love you.
What about me?
Always have. Shut up, you.
Thanks, Mike.
Wow.
I'm not a chubby chaser. By the way, Dave, I love you.
Thanks, Mike.
Always have. Hi, Dave.
Yes.
I love you.
Thanks, Mike.
Always have.
What about me?
Nay.
What?
I've only got so much food for a couple of months.
Come on.
Really good point,
I'm
Leafheart.
wearing black today.
Good point, Leafheart.
It's very slimming.
Thank you.
Like Ann Wilson from Heart. The laughs and the way it used to be.
Yes.
So thank you so much for listening. You're watching rawmikeRichards.com, either on the dedicated YouTube channel. I hope you've subscribed. Or if you've watched us for the first time, you're probably going to enjoy the show if you like what we do. And speaking of which, it's about finding out how you keep John Tavares, and Donald Rosner from Bagel Boss in New York is going to tell us how.
Hello?
Is Donald there?
This is Donald.
Donald, it's Mike Richards from rawmikeRichards.com. We're live on camera. We're live on the air. And, buddy, I got to tell you, your offer to John Tavares has made some headlines, my friend. And for those who don't know what it is that you said on Twitter, why don't you tell us what the offer was to JT?
Sure. I offered John Tavares free bagels for life, personally delivered to his home for himself and his family.
I love it. I love it. And let's get the plug in here. Bagel Boss, you know, from my travels to New York, Donald, you guys are #1 in that city. This is quite the I guess the offering. What kind of other media and other people have come up to you and told you about? Are you sure, man? Because this could be like an 8-year contract, but you offered them for life.
For life. I've been contacted by just about everybody. NHL.com did a piece on me last night, and you know, everyone kind of thinks it's a gag, but I assure you, it is no gag. I am committed. John Tavares he's just been an idol to myself, my family, my friends. Like, you know, we love him here, and whatever it takes to get him to stay. I don't have much, but one thing I do have is a bagel business, and I'd be more than happy to supply John Tavares bagels for the rest of his life, free of charge, delivered to his home every single day.
That is awesome. Now, I think, is it Pat Morris? Is Pat from Newport Sports? I think
Yes,
that's who
he
does his stuff.
handles his agency. Yes.
Now, have you heard back? Is there interest in this offer, Donald?
I haven't heard anything from the camp of John Tavares, but today we're actually shipping bagels to CAA Sports in Los Angeles, and we're going to try everything we can to get our product in front of him and get the message to him that, John, we don't want you to leave. I mean, whatever it takes to get you to stay. I don't have $8 million a year to give him, or 10, or whatever he's going to get, but I do have bagels. So I'm giving what I can.
And they're the best in New York City, too,
Yes.
Donald. Hey, Donald, tell us about your love for the New York Islanders, because it's not like you just started liking the Islanders right now. How long does it go back? And I think it's safe to say you're an Islander diehard, aren't you?
I definitely am. I was born in '81, that's when they were winning the cups. My whole family are diehard Islander fans, so I was born into it. I feel like I bleed blue and orange. And, just all throughout my childhood, I've watched hockey. And as much as I'm an Islander fan, I love this sport. And, all the years, let's be honest, my team hasn't been all that great since I've been around. But I feel like now they're finally starting to become something great. And with Barry Trotz and Lou Lamoriello, like, they got the perfect management team, and all these young players that we have, like, it's just they're heading in the right direction. I mean, Matt Barzell is just unreal.
Yeah.
And for John Tavares to leave, it would be devastating to me personally, just because of his off ice and on ice stuff. I mean, his commitment to the community and just the kind of guy he is. Like, he's a role model to me. I mean, I'm older than him, and I idolize him, and that's the kind of person I want to be in my life.
Yeah, we've talked to John many times. We've had him in studio. He is exactly what you say he is. He is 100% a top 3, top 5 player in the world. I want to ask you, because I always joke to some of my Islander fans, because I've traveled to New York quite a bit. I have a couple Islander fans and friends that have followed the team since Dennis Potvin was drafted by the team and so forth. But how excited were you when the Islanders decided to part ways with Garth Snow on a scale of 1 to 10?
Okay, so without being disrespectful, I got to be honest. I was kind of happy, but I'm not one of those guys who likes to bash on people and everything. I think he did his best. He was a goalie who got that job. I don't really understand how that happened, but I think he did his best. He's definitely done some good, but I don't think he was going to be a winner. And Lou Lamoriello is a winner, and that's the kind of guy that anybody would want to have DMing their team.
Donald, you're awesome. I mean, you truly are. I mean, there are fans that I've heard say, "Oh, I'd do anything." But you are prepared to do anything to keep JT here. It's a great story, and look, obviously, I wish you all the best. Now, should he leave? And let's just say he comes to Toronto. Is there something that I can give you? Maybe not for the rest of your life, but maybe there's something I can do for you. Do you like rye? Do you like maple syrup? Do you like donuts? What can I do for you, Don?
I wasn't expecting that.
Okay, you're a good man, so I'll tell you what. You think about that. We'll get a hold of you now. If it goes your way, then I'm happy, and you're very busy apparently every morning with bagels. But if it doesn't, you get back to me when you think of an idea, something you want to have, because you are worth it, my friend.
I appreciate that, and I'll tell you what, I wouldn't mind having a Toronto Maple Leaf Tavares jersey if he were to go there, because I'd still be a fan of his.
I guarantee, and I can guarantee you we get it signed too. If that happens, we'll get it signed. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's really cool of you guys.
Well, and so are you, Donald. Thanks so much for joining us.
Donald, you're the best.
Yeah,
Thanks, pal.
And good luck to you, brother.
Thanks so much. Anytime.
That is Donald. Imagine that.
It was. I saw the tweet. I was watching. We talked about Poland, Colombia. I was watching the game, and I'm looking through my feed. I'm like, no. And I'm looking at, and then all of a sudden, I thought, you know what? I'm gonna phone up Bagel Boss and ask for him, see if this is legit. Lady hands me off and says, I'm actually talking to him on my cell right now. Could you hold the line for a second? She goes off for about 15 seconds, comes back and says, Donald wants you to call him right now. And I'm like, sure, give me his number. And I phone him up and he says, Dave, I'd love to be on the show. I'd love to tell you exactly how I feel. And I said, you know what? Listening to you for 5 seconds, this is a must.
Yeah.
So
bona fide New York street guy, has his own company. Got to give up Donis for the rest of John Tavares' life.
Now the Rossner family owns 13 bagel bosses in the greater Manhattan, Long Island area. He's from Long Island, which isn't Manhattan at all. So if you're trying to confuse the two, don't. And he runs one of them. So he was like, yeah, absolutely. And from what I've been told, Bagel Boss really is you sit there and you think, oh, I've had a bagel. It's like, no, these are a little bit different. This is like a full meal kind of thing. So check it out.
Okay, so we're gonna have a guy come in here who realizes that men are not very good at weddings. We don't honestly. We don't even want to be there. I mean, it's why you have a couple of other guys, and the guy behind you actually is the best man. We're not even the best man, clearly. So we're going to bring in a gentleman on the other side, and we're going to talk about maybe what are these? Are tips that so it will be a better day for you, things you can understand, so you don't cause fights.
We'll have him explain it, but that's basically it. It's almost like a prep for how to handle the wedding from the male side of things when that day actually comes.
Okay, so maybe what we'll do then is I'm going to play you. So Jesperi Kotkaniemi. Okay. So I guess a little bit of a shock that the Montreal Canadiens took him third. Now you can have all the panels talk all you want. You can have all the descriptions and why maybe, but when you see the face of this Montreal Canadiens, this fan Dave, this Hab woman, I'm guessing if Jesperi had have seen her face, I don't know, maybe he wouldn't have come to Montreal, because I got to be honest, it's not the most inspiring.
Center spot.
Well, it worked out pretty good, and I think they'd be extremely happy if that were the case. And all the heat that Columbus took for taking Pierre-Luc Dubois at number 3 when everyone thought it was going to be Pugliarvi. Well, now he's their number 1 center, and the power play works around Pierre-Luc Dubois. And this very well may be the case for Kotkaniemi as well. He plays next year. Having said that,
he's not pleased.
Bergevin isn't sitting on the sidelines watching this decision 2 years from now when he's playing for the Montreal Canadiens. I mean, it's definitely not a sure thing that he won't play.
And I know he tried, so it's easy for me to sit here and say, well, he could have moved down, gotten this player at 5, 6, 7, gotten another asset, and still drafted the center he wanted. But you never know. And unless you're confident the guy behind you and the guy behind him are telling you the truth and that you're going to get the guy you want, you're running an awful risk.
And I suppose the one thing when you
and once again, it's not up to that woman who looked absolutely horrified.
That face was all over memes everywhere.
Oh, that was classic.
I saved it on my phone just in case I have to refer to it on social media in a year. Seriously.
And the Canadian fans are going, what else do we? I mean,
like if Devin ever gets a real job, I'm tweeting that picture.
Yeah. No, we are.
It will surprise me.
We'll be frightened. Speaking of being frightened, do you remember when you proposed to your fiance and you thought you kind of knew everything, and she said, "You're gonna plan a wedding," and you're like, "Yeah, of course we are. Yeah, baby, I love you so much, baby." Well, I got to tell you, none of us are prepared. Women might dream about that special day. It's not even a thought. It's not. We see ourselves winning a Stanley Cup. We see, you're running a kickback. You're winning the World Series. Women think of their special day, and it's been in their head for like 20 years. So what do? Well, Tyler Cameron's come in. A Dude's Guide to Surviving His Wedding. And I got to tell you, this is the wedding season. This is the time. So you have picked it perfectly, my friend. Here, just stuck right into that.
Absolutely, yeah. So guys, for the most part, have no clue what they're doing in general, let alone planning a wedding. And, usually they want to sit around and just watch the game. And news for you, if you're planning a wedding, you're trying to get into the good books with the missus, you kind of got to help out a little bit.
Yeah, and think about it this way, too. The cost.
Yeah.
Like guys will just painfully over what
it's so massive.
It's
so massive.
A power tool? Oh, I don't know. The steel chainsaw. It's got blah blah. This, they're like, yeah, do whatever you want. Yeah. How much is the average wedding now? Just give or take.
You're looking at between $35,000-$40,000. So it's funny, guys. As much input or lack thereof that they have with the wedding process, they do want to know about costs, beer, and the entertainment.
Right.
So that's pretty much what they're focused on during this process.
Now, do you also find that unlike when I was getting married, it seemed like between the ages of 20 to 25 seemed to be kind of not that aligned, guys around that age? But it's older now, isn't it?
It's getting a little older. People are focusing on their careers, and and it's more acceptable, I guess, for people to have kids a little later as well. So we just had another one, and you as well. You have 2 girls. I have 2 girls.
Yeah.
So it's guys are holding off as long as they can. Put it that way, and
there's
it's
reasons. Yeah, well, yeah, career, sure. Now, what about you, Dave? You got married a little later, didn't you?
Got married a little bit later, yeah.
Like I was 25.
Yeah, see, I was like 38.
Yeah.
So it was like
you really held on to it. That's good.
It's also have to wait for the right one too, right?
Yep, that's true.
Oh, sorry.
and you nailed it, Dave.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah. Give me a background on the inspiration of doing this, because obviously we laugh about it. It is a serious day though, and you're right. You have to walk gently through certain areas. I'll tell you about my part of it. I helped organize for the most part, and I want to show you this really quick. I'll show it personally. My main contribution was making sure that I got the wedding cake.
Yeah,
and
I heard you guys talking about that the other day.
yeah,
Yeah,
the Stanley Cup.
That was a win.
That was a massive
Yeah.
win. Yeah, so I basically said, you know what? We'll let you guys figure it out, but I want the Stanley Cup cake. And when we went to the different places, I said, these are the measurements. Give me your best shot. And the cake tasting and the food tasting that might be one of the best parts of the whole experience.
Oh, for sure. We actually did. So kind of coupling off that, my wife let me do. I'm a massive Blackhawks fan. So
Oh, cool. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
for whatever reason, but
it's a
my
good thing.
wife, it was. It's a rough year last year. My wife let me put jersey numbers on all of. So I had a number 4 Hjalmarsson.
Yeah.
She really let me, expand a little bit into the hockey world. So that was a win for me. People are like, you're marrying the right girl. So yeah, I guess for me, the cake tasting and the food tasting is outstanding. We did a tiered cheesecake,
very
cheese and
good.
crackers,
Very
because we're
good.
not huge cake people. But I guess the inspiration for the book would have been, I've been to about 50 weddings. I've
Amen.
been in 8 wedding parties. I was 3 best men under a year. I've DJ'd about 25 weddings. I used to DJ, so getting yelled at by brides' moms. And
It's the worst,
turned down the
eh?
music,
I know.
and oh my God, everybody's so stressed out. So
Let me just, and
go
I've
ahead.
done the same DJing back in the day, and isn't it the worst where you're hired by the couple, but the party, the parents, and friends of the family thinks it's their obligation that you have to play their song because they basically own you for the night. Meanwhile, you're hired by the couple to play their song. Oh, I hate that so much, and I'm so happy I don't do it anymore.
I was actually telling a story this morning where the bride came up to me and she was like, I want to play this song. I don't know what song it was. It wasn't anything crazy. And the bride's mom came up to me and started yelling at me to why I'm playing this song. I'm like, it's your daughter's day, not yours. So, but maybe she was paying the bill.
Totally,
I don't know.
I know.
So,
Yeah, but see, we just went to a wedding and it was awesome because they're a little bit older too. They got married, and here's the other thing they did that I really liked. The only speeches were from him and her. Now,
that's great.
Well,
That's unheard of.
And
That is unheard of.
He was hysterical, and then he played a Doors song and started running around the room singing it. He's a cop. He's a cop. I go, you are. I'm going to give you a ticket for being so awesome. Is what I'm going to do. And so I thought of some of the pitfalls that I see. Oh, the speeches.
Speeches
I
are
just
rough.
do not
You got to
want-
set a limit. And then the moms always go over, or the crying maid of honor, but you gotta. The key is too, if they're gonna be long, make sure you just do them through dinner, right? Don't do okay. We're gonna sit down, have this big dinner, and then have them all after. You got to get them going because people can start to tune out and start eating. And
well, the stories. It's like, remember Becky?
Yeah.
We were in the Dominican Republic, and that's when I was like, oh,
inside joke,
shoot.
inside joke, insert inside joke.
Totally.
Yeah. And you're just like casually laughing if you're a guest because you're like, I don't know what they're
I
talking
don't
about.
Okay. So what's fair to sit there and say speech wise? Obviously, one of the parents, yes.
Yes.
The couple,
Yes.
And where do you go from there? Best man and
it's usually I would just do best man, maid of honor, the parents as a couple, not like dad's got this 3-minute speech, mom's got a 15-minute speech.
Yeah.
Give them a time limit. Be like, Mom, seriously, you got to cut this off after 3 minutes. We'll get the hook to
we'll
drag you
we'll
off.
play the music.
Yeah, and then the couple, because then they're just gonna kick it off and be like, okay, now we're gonna party.
Yeah, let's party.
Yeah, so keep it short, keep it sweet, keep it through dinner.
Is it bad form? Because I can't
here we
think.
go.
I can't think of the last time that I've seen this. But a cash bar.
I don't
know the last time I've been to one.
I'm gonna
with
say
a cash
yes.
bar.
I'm gonna say yes.
Yeah.
You had
No, I would never have a cash.
No,
bar.
I
that's what I'm
personally,
saying.
I wouldn't. I know some people that do. Maybe they're getting married younger. I don't know. Usually, I mean, there's a whole part in here about budget, and I brought in an expert from CIBC to be like, if you don't have the money to do this, which maybe includes doing a cash
Oh, that's
bar.
interesting. That's good.
Yeah.
CIBC, good.
So maybe it's like, but I don't know. Maybe it's like a donation bar. But I mean,
but if you're bringing your friends and family,
I
and you have
know.
that one big
I know.
celebration of your life, basically.
I viewed it as a party that I wanted to bring everybody I was
Yes.
appreciative of and
you
help.
you take the kick to the you know what,
Yeah.
and you hopefully make it up with some of the cards.
Sure.
And
sure.
yeah, I don't like. I would feel terrible if I'm inviting you to my wedding and I'm like, that's a $4 beer, and that's a $5 rum,
That's
and
terrible.
I mean,
It just it throws the whole vibe off.
totally
too.
does.
Because also people people used to be, like you said, you haven't been there or you haven't been to a wedding for a while. It was a cash bar. I think people just assume it's open bar now.
I would think so.
Back in the day, people used to be like, "Oh, am I bringing cash? Am I not?" I think for the most part, they're open bars, and people assume. And how do you ask that question if you're like, I don't know if it is?
It was at a golf course the last one we went to, and I'd never seen these signs before. And the first one shocked me.
No.
I was shocked.
What did it say?
So I went up and then said, little sign on the bar, because it's an open bar. No doubles, no shots.
Yeah.
What? Okay, I get it. No shots. We're not sailors. You know, we're not coming to port in Singapore or something. Okay, I get that. No doubles? Do you know?
They did that at my wedding, no doubles. And I have buddies who drink whiskey. And they're like,
I'm a rye guy.
Yeah. How do I have a single rye?
So I'm having a rye and ginger?
Double is what he has when he warms up.
Yeah.
That's like...
So is there triples, though, maybe?
Yes, there.
No, doubles, maybe triples?
What, for me?
No, just in general.
No, in general, it better be. It's triples. Yeah, there are some problems on this other side.
That's where you have to slip the bartender, a little cash and do the old wink.
Well, they eventually did because I think the dishwasher was going, "Come on," like because I was just there's too many glasses coming back.
He remembers the bartender.
Yeah.
That's a great part about this. Your wedding yourself, if you could rewind it and go, okay, I would have changed this, and this, because obviously the book wasn't out when you were married.
Yeah.
What would you do differently?
I don't know. I mean, there's a couple small things. I was also, just to preface it, my wife worked in the wedding space, so it was I was lucky to have all of that information, hence why I also wrote the book, because guys like that there's not a lot of resources out there for them. It's mostly geared towards the females.
Sure it is.
But yeah, my wife was super instrumental with that, so she took care of a lot. I don't know, like the small things. Wish we had like a videographer. We didn't pay for one.
Right.
I wish there was doubles at the bar. They kind of got angry about that. I had some guys sneaking up to a room and pouring it. But yeah, ours was pretty good. I mean, we had a little inn spa kind of area because we wanted a huge party where we could just say everybody go nuts. We didn't want any complaints from people at hotels or golf courses.
What was your number? How many people?
We had 248, I think.
We had around that range too. Yeah, it was just a little bit less. But
it seems to be about, I don't know, I mean, I can't say the right size, but I mean, because I know Italians, that would be just the staff.
We have friends that went to a wedding this weekend that had 800.
Oh, that's insane.
That's ridiculous.
And that's Greek, though, right?
That's Greek.
Yeah.
But still, I married a Greek too, and we didn't have 800.
I've been to somewhere there's 80. And it's really intimate. And it's really cool. I mean, you have to really have a strict list, because there's a chapter in there about how you make a bunch of people upset about not inviting them.
Yeah, see, because that's the other thing too, is that if you're in a workplace and you're like, okay, well, you're gonna have some work people, and like, and then your wife's going, so Uncle Tom or little crippled Stevie's, he's been waiting.
Not crippled Stevie.
He's got to be there.
He can't come in there. God bless everyone, and there we go. But all of a sudden, Devin shows up. She's like, "Oh, come on!
Yeah.
You've known him for 5 days."
Yeah. You have a strict list. You have to have a cutoff. If you haven't talked to them in a year, or if they're dating someone, you haven't even met them.
See, if I were to redo my wedding, there's at least 10 people on my side that I invited that I'm like, what the hell did I invite you for?
Yeah.
Really, I don't even talk to you now. Yeah. Why were you possibly invited at that time?
But then sometimes it's because those uncles and aunts, they came to that wedding and they were invited. And so all of a sudden it's like payback kind of. Or something.
It is. It's kind of like you got invited to somebody's wedding. You kind of have to invite them. And
sure.
Yeah. So it's you really got to pick your list wisely. It's a hard part of doing.
Worst idea you've seen at a wedding? The worst idea.
Worst idea at a wedding.
Inviting exes?
Inviting exes. I haven't seen that one.
I haven't seen that one either.
At my wedding, there kind of was a guy that I guess was all in love with Linda and stuff.
Oh, geez.
So I'm looking out there.
Did you bring him over to beat him up?
No. So I'm sitting there going, "Hey, high fives." Who's
I'm so not happy for you.
Who's crybaby?
It reminds me of the Heartbreak Kid, if you guys seen that movie, Fairly Brothers movie, where he just like goes to his exes and he's like, he dated terrible people before that. The father speaking, the guys turn around and they're like, that's you. That's all you. I don't know. I don't have any. I mean, usually it's.
Some people say because they love Kentucky Fried Chicken or whatever they like craft dinner like food choices sometimes. I mean, that's difficult because now we're getting back to budget.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, that's usually reserved for the late night table if everybody's, inebriated and want to just have some chicken. Or we did poutine, I think, which got very messy on the bus.
There was a poutine bar at the one we did, and poutine and cupcakes. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was filling up on the way home.
That's not bad.
That was outstanding.
I've been to
outstanding.
I've been to one. Well, actually, no, I heard of one that at midnight they brought in like 300 cheeseburgers from McDonald's.
Yeah, done that. I
would have done that. That's a great idea.
That's good. We were at one earlier this year. We had to go home because we have kids and we're boring now. But he works.
Welcome.
Yeah, so he works on the Wendy's account. So he had Wendy's come in, and I was like,
tremendous.
So we just went to Wendy's on the way home in the Uber instead.
Tyler, we're getting some messages live on our feed, our YouTube feed. What is the etiquette for gifts and cards? What is way too cheap for a couple to put in a card when they go to a wedding? What's the standard for a couple?
I mean, you're supposed to cover off what you're going to consume that night, whether that be food and alcohol, and then you want to, well, if you can't have doubles or triples, it's a little cheaper.
Dude's bringing $1,000.
Yeah, so
there you go.
Whether it be 100, 150 per person, you're kind of.
Per person, really?
I would keep in mind the venue and where you're going. And,
yes.
And it's...
Okay, so
if they came to your wedding and gave you the same amount, you kind of want to make sure.
Yeah, send a receipt.
Look, I'm saying...
You want to cover off.
It's just, the meal, there's a salad that comes. Maybe it's the chicken or the roast beef, and the wine's going to be like Ontario or something like that.
Sure.
It would still be like 150, like you still would.
I'd say 100, 150. Yeah.
So it's like a three bills in that card.
See what
Wow.
What I kind of graded is on. Yeah, you're covering your.
I really am not very well liked in the last.
I think it depends on culture too. I'll say that.
Yeah.
It's different. I mean, that's the cash thing. I mean, you can get around it.
Yeah.
This gift that looks expensive.
What I've kind of thought is you cover off what you're going to eat, what you're going to drink.
Yeah.
And then you even give a gift on top of it.
Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Like not a gift as in here's a toaster. It's like here's an additional $100.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? So my card with me and my wife is now $500 because plates these days are probably I'm guessing I haven't been to a wedding in about a year. I'm guessing plates are about 150 a plate, 160 a plate.
Yeah.
Ours was 110 at the time.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah. So
depends where you are too. Downtown Toronto is going to be a lot more expensive.
We were in Woodbridge.
Woodbridge.
Yeah. So what seems to be the wedding capital of the city.
That Niagara on the Lake.
Yeah. Exactly. So you cover the food, alcohol, and you're like, okay, and here's 100 from the couple. So it's like me and her go to it. It's $500. It's not cheap.
Then babysitter.
Yeah, well, then
now,
exactly.
if you can't bring the kids,
well,
that's a way to get around it too.
Well, we have right. It was
some people,
#1 babysitter in the world. So
yeah.
Yes, you certainly do. I'll pay for that. I also, I'm thinking. So you put in $75 and then put your kid in the closet, and give him the Mr. Big. I mean, that's kind of. That's kind of what I do, and then drink $5,000 worth of their most expensive booze. It's like, who was that guy? Well, no. Once again, I will show the book, and so we can get as close as we can.
Where can they get it, Tyler? By the way,
on Amazon, you can just literally type in the title. Also, you can just go to tylercameron.com. All my information's there. Follow me. Find it on Amazon that way.
Yep.
Blogging on the side. All that fun stuff.
A dude's guide to surviving his wedding.
Yeah.
So
that is awesome.
You know what? And 'tis the season, right?
It is.
We're in wedding. It's probably already started in probably May.
Yep.
It's going to go down to, I'm guessing, October-ish.
Yeah, I've been to 2 so far. I have 2 more. There's been times where I've been 7.
You got way too many friends, man. I try to limit my friends at this level.
I know.
Yeah,
really
if you want to be my friend, no.
Yeah.
No, you're not my friend
I got to
anymore.
start doing that a little more.
It works.
And then the next book will be A Dude's Guide to Surviving Kids. So I'll pop back when I write that one.
You hurry up with that one.
Yeah,
okay?
I know. You've already survived. If you haven't survived by now, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just saying alcohol for a lot of it, but apparently I can't write a book saying
that is the key.
Yeah, funerals, booze. Yeah. I mean, see what I'm saying? I mean, it just doesn't seem that hard. Tyler, thanks so much for coming in, man. I appreciate it. Great book.
Yeah, thank you.
Great work.
Thanks, guys.
So going out, what we'll do is if I'm looking at my upsets of the week. In the CFL, to me, normally
Bombers
lays
put
out
up 56, by the way,
and that was the gift of the week. That was totally that was the gift of the week. I understand Ricky Ray right now is so he's feeling like his extremities,
which is good news. Because
when he went down, like when he first went down, I thought, well, obviously he got rolled on a little bit and his neck was affected, but I didn't think a 25-minute delay. The stretcher comes out, people aren't sure, the players are upset, everyone's on their knees, praying, and look, Ricky Ray's one of the best guys you'll meet.
Great guy. We've had him here before too, and man, he's a walking Hall of Famer.
He's a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Famer. But the Ticats and the Eskimos.
That was my surprise of the week.
That was. I mean, holy crap! I mean, I think if you're a Hamilton Tiger Cat fan and you were wondering whether 98-year-old June Jones was going to be any good, and 107-year-old Jerry Glanville, whether that was going to work or not. I mean, you just never know. But I'll tell you what, Mazzoli is playing like he realizes there's someone over his back. He has played excellent football up to now. And even in Calgary, it looked pretty good. But in Edmonton, they were superb. Are we not getting our videos?
We've been stretching this thing for as long as we can.
Then when I
can't talk anymore. We're already on week 3.
Then when I was 7, my mom gave me a pony named Timmy.
Oh, Timmy! I love Timmy.
What is happening there, Devin?
Okay, so what I want you to do, Devin, is reenact the Tiger Cats scoring their last 2 touchdowns in the 4th quarter to seal the deal in Edmonton. Go.
Oh, no, do we have it back up there?
There we go.
There we go. That's,
good word.
He's looking for it. Once again, this is property
this show
of...
was smooth until Devin came along.
Yeah,
right?
the Canadian Football League. Yeah, that's their property. Hey, property of the Bell. You want a little shout out there?
Hey,
forget about that stuff what I said in the first 20 minutes.
Love you.
Yeah, no, you are outstanding.
Oh.
You are the men. But once again, so this is the Ticats rolling over Edmonton. It was a great game, and Mazzoli looks like he's probably going to keep his job.
2 teams coming off different results last week. For this Cat team that came close in Calgary last week, errant toss late by Mazzoli. Wants to pump and go, and down the rail, and up high, and bringing it down, Terrence Tolliver. Cats were 1 for 1 from this area in Calgary, and almost picked. Luke Tasker's going to score a touchdown. Cats strike first. Luke Tasker shakes a tackle and then could walk in. Riley going deep, looking to the best Winnipeg, and he's got the Duke. Shaquille Williams is going to score. Touchdown, Edmonton.
As you can see, this actually was a great game. No, you can keep the clips going there, Dad. No, we're not leaving the clips now.
He took that ball and
big crowd. This was awesome.
Protection, throws into coverage, and what a catch! Brandon Banks takes a lick, but comes down with a football.
But Mazzoli is also, so he's on the money when he's throwing a pass. He's running with the ball using his legs. And trust me, this is still good for Johnny Manziel to be able to sit there and watch how this game is orchestrated by a guy who uses his legs just like he does.
Makes a juke, and Neil King eventually gets him, but Jeremiah Mazzoli with his feet. 5.5 to go opening quarter. Cats looking end zone. Timmis got there, touchdown.
And there it is. Once again, I thought if it was the kind of the upset of the week, keeping in mind I'm not talking about World Cup soccer.
No.
Because that gets a little ugly.
No, that gets a little
I know the English are so they're so excited. Man. They pumped Tunisia.
You're going to be really disappointed against Belgium.
Did you see what the number for Belgium is?
No.
It's like a 2-7 or something. I'm like, what?
You know what that is, eh? Because England's such a public team that people are jumping on board going, oh, crikey, yes. And then all of a sudden it's like, bah.
God, I was like, I was in England there for a second.
It felt like that, didn't it?
So what do we have today? So Spain and Portugal. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, we should. There's some games going on right now, and to no one's surprise, Uruguay's up 2-0 on Russia because Russia's the biggest fraud of this tournament, and they're losing every single game from here on in because next up they draw either Portugal or Spain. Both teams will destroy Russia just the way it should be. Not that I'm referring to something in the past. By the way, Saudi Arabia, Egypt 1-1 at halftime.
Terrible. Can't believe they even scored.
Speaking of teams that don't belong in the World Cup.
Wow. Also, so interesting to look at some of these numbers. But as I said, I think England, when they play Belgium, right now they're saying Belgium. I got into like a 2.65. It's a 2.10 right now. So it is. And England is a 1.65?
Wow. So they're favorites in that game. Jeez.
Okay, I don't get that at all.
They were supposed to.
God bless you, Phil, if you want to keep that number. Trust me.
Yeah.
Don't change it.
No,
Don't change that number.
Give me a couple of minutes to bet on that. You know what? And the crossover, it should be interesting because, okay, Belgium, England have already, their standard is 1 and 2 depending on who wins this next game. Their crossover is H, so that will be either Colombia, Japan, or Senegal. Sorry.
Senegal, yeah.
So 2 out of those teams will cross over. So there's a legitimate chance that both England and Belgium win their next game out of group. And when that happens, English fans are really going to be annoying. Like, you think they're annoying now? Just wait until they win that game, because that's actually into the playoff. And I think they'll find their keep after that. But I could see both of them happening. Just like Portugal and Spain will win their first games outside of the group. And then after that, you got to see where they're matched up, because they're both very good teams. And right now, and if there's any debate about it, you're foolish. Ronaldo is the greatest soccer player in the world by far. By far.
Touch on a couple of things just before we turn to World Cup. The Flames deal, Dougie Hamilton, that 5-player deal.
Massive trade.
It is a big trade, and yet I don't think, if you talk to those that are sort of close to it, there was just sort of, and then there's a weirdness about Dougie Hamilton.
It's a little bit of a locker room thing happening.
Yeah, because it's like you talk about Dougie Hamilton, and then it's talked about why you're going to trade him.
Yep.
And
Flames won that deal, by the way. Get the 2 younger players like that. I like it. I love it. They get Who Wants to Walk with Elias Lundholm as well. So I mean, it's a great deal. I also like Mike that Wendell Clark's kid, Cody, was drafted by the Washington Capitals.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. 47th overall. Another Clark joining the league. Not sure if he's Wendell-ish, but I look forward to seeing what Cody can do in the NHL.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Before we let you go, when we talked. Was it the Ryder Cup? Maybe it was around. No, it was for the Masters, and Connor Moore from Ireland.
Yes,
it was a huge hit on the show.
Massive, yes.
This guy is super talented, very funny, and a great impressionist, I think. But his angles on the voices are what I think are brilliant. So here he is again. This just in time for World Cup. So he's going to do some World Cup voices, but it's so much more than that. Our good friend Connor Moore, brilliant, lovely, fantastic stuff. Get a load of this.
Myself and Victoria, we can't wait for the World Cup, you know. Such great memories of it. The English media, how supportive and honest they were. The supporters, you know, the singing, the dancing, the death threats. It was great, really.
The World Cup is a great competition. We are going to win. It's going to be tremendous.
Sir, we're not in the World Cup.
The World Cup is a total disaster. Fake competition, bad for losers. How come no one told me?
Sorry, sir, but Mexico, in fact, qualified ahead of us.
Mexico. That wall just got 10 feet higher. Let me tell you, it's going to be huge.
I think, but for a few bad refereeing decisions, and the fact that there's a conspiracy against me and my team, Manchester United would be at the World Cup. But I prefer not to speak. I think... Oh, thank God. I was running out of excuses.
This whole football world don't know what's going to come out when I roll in here. Trust me on that. I don't know, maybe. What I'm saying is the World Cup, Wimbledon, Open Championship, Nate, Khabib. It's good to have options. So I don't give a fuck. I'm late for court.
Best players in the world. That's what it's all about. You know, Salah, Hazard, Ronaldo, Messi, Danny Welbeck. Pick it out, son.
Well, it's a poor squad, you know. I think, you know, Wes Crouchy, you know, Jermaine Defoe, you know, Bobby Zamora, fantastic, terrific players that have gone to the World Cup.
No. Germany to win the World Cup in this moment for sure, I feel. I feel we have a good team and a good coach who carries himself with such dignity and respect at all times. So, for sure, Germany.
Oh no! Oh no! He didn't.
A World Cup without the Zlatan.
Good impression, though.
Is like Christmas without Santa Claus. No.
Why did you pick Harry Kane as captain?
I thought it was a very difficult task, but I thought he was the outstanding candidate for captain.
No, that's outstanding stuff.
Fantastic
it
leader.
Is. There we go. What? That is Connor Moore.
Yep. You want to go do karate in the garage? Yep. It's time!
We'd like to thank those who joined us here today. Donald Rosner was the one from Bagel Boss in New York who has offered John Tavares a lifetime of free bagels every morning delivered to his house.
It's a good deal. I would stay in Long Island.
He's got to think about that one seriously. It's that might be too good to give up. Also, Tyler Cameron coming in and telling us about his book, A Dude's Guide to Surviving His Wedding.
Pretty cool, man. Pretty cool.
And for those of you who wanted the truth, you can't handle the truth, or however that goes. That's the from us to you. Hopefully that filled in some of the blanks. It is tough, but we appreciate it and love you. See you tomorrow.